It's time for ProAm Predictions.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? This is Liam Óg here, and this is another episode of ProAm Predictions. Brian and Paul are off this week, and I'm going to be representing the amateur side as a failed amateur fighter, now turned coach, head coach here in SPG Cork. I'll be representing the amateur side, and on the professional side, we have Bellator heavyweight, Mr. Ryan the Hulk Spillane. How are you doing, sir?
I'm great, and technically this is the A side, the A team of trash talk and just shite talking in general, because Paul and Brian can't keep up with us on that section. Brian is obviously the better MMA fighter. Paul. Like, I'm definitely better at burpees than Paul, so we can put that out there.
Okay,
so we're definitely the better pairing.
Right. Well, I'm glad you said that, because I'm not taking any risks with Paul or with Brian Moore. But anyway, we already recorded this whole episode, and I screwed up because
it was absolutely amazing. Like, the podcast was perfect. Like it was up there with like Joe Rogan podcast. Like, it was just absolutely excellence, and you'll never hear it or see it because Liam fucked up.
Look, the reason I fucked up was because of what I'm about to put on screen right now, which is the poster for your upcoming fight. So tell us about this fight.
So I was lucky enough to be given a release from Bellator for one fight, and we got a match on Battle Arena. I was actually their European champion back starting my career. I had a 7-second knockout, so I'm heading back for my pro debut, fighting a fella called Romic Sim. He's 2-0. So really looking forward to that fight. Also, just announced a few days ago, Pally Han, my teammates on the card. So we have a nice little SPG outing and 2 lovely highlight reel finishes in July.
Nice. And of course, it's on the poster, it says the 10th of July, but it's actually it's going to be the 25th of July. So they had some change of dates over there and venues and stuff. So 25th of July, and of course that's going to be on Sky TV as well.
So because everyone thinks it's not on Sky Sports, it's
yes,
on Sky Channel, because everyone thinks Sky Sports. It's not.
Yeah.
But it's actually not on Sky. We forget about that. You buy my pay-per-view, because it's only on the pay-per-view.
Okay, fair enough. All right. Well, that's a bit of sales work for you there anyway. But look, we're going to get stuck in and have a look at UFC 261. We have a triple headliner, 3 title fights on 261. Let's start off with the main event. So I'm going to bring the card up on screen as we're talking about it here. So we've got Kamaru Usman and Jorge Masvidal, a rematch from that fight back in Fight Island back almost a year ago now, I'd say, at this stage. What's your analysis here, Hulk?
Before we start, do you want to get your rant out of the way just so we can have that out and we can just start?
No, the rant comes for the co-main event.
Okay. I think that'll be the absolutely same fight. I think history repeats itself. I think Usman wins in a very dominant performance. Masvidal hasn't fought since that fight, and I think the whole 6 days notice and the short notice thing is a bit sketchy. As we were saying the last one, but we got cut out. He's obviously always preparing to fight champion. Like, you're always fighting to fight the top guy. Like, that's always happened. So the whole thing, I wasn't ready for the fight. 6 days notice. You're a professional fighter, so you're training all the time. If you're not, then that's your own fault, really. You should always be in the gym. If you're a goal-orientated fighter, you're not going to go far. So I think, personally, he was training the whole time. He was ready for that fight. He obviously has teammates that were getting ready for fights as well, so he was obviously helping them. So I think the whole 6 days notice thing, I don't think that's a big factor in this fight. I think Usman goes out there and dominates him for 5 rounds, exactly like the first fight. Usman has fought since that fight. He fought Gil Burns in a very dominant performance. He brought a jab into the fight, and he was pinging Burns that jab, and he was really dominant in the fight. Masvidal hasn't fought since that fight, and I think that will come into play as well. Usman has fought since then. Masvidal hasn't. Mm-hmm. So I think Usman wins 5-round decision, unanimous.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. I don't see Masvidal bringing anything different to the table here, and I'm over the whole Jorge Masvidal hype train. I think if we look at his record here, if we go back just a couple of fights, right? So he made his attempt at the title the first time round. He had that tremendous win over Darren Till, legitimate, can't argue at all. I think that was phenomenal. He hit him with an overhand as Darren Till was leaning back off it. He chased him down. Next fight was Ben Askren. Now, we were expecting to see, like, obviously Ben Askren was coming off that win from Robbie Lawler, so we were hoping that Ben Askren would kind of make a run for the title and be the dominant champion that he was in one and Bellator previously. But as we now realise, Ben Askren had 1 foot out the door already, and his boxing wasn't going to be holding up to Jorge Masvidal.
Let's not mention the war.
Let's not mention Jake Paul. And then he went on to fight Nate Diaz, and that fight, great fight. I mean, both lads were popping off each other. Nate Diaz was stopped due to a cut over his right eye, I believe it was. Now, also, Nate Diaz isn't the most active fighter, certainly not in the welterweight division. And was that welterweight? I think it was welterweight.
Yeah, no, it was welterweight. That was for the BMF title.
That was for the BMF title. So, I mean, of your 3 fights heading for a title shot, one is against Ben Askren, one is against Nate Diaz. I don't think he deserved a title shot in the first place, and I know he did step in last minute to replace somebody. It was that 6 days notice. But having said that, and then going and losing all 5 rounds and not fighting again since, I don't think he deserves this fight.
No.
Now, I know why they did it.
Yeah.
They did it because it's Miami, it's Florida, and he's the Miami boy, so he's going to bring a lot of ticket sales. But on that, this is the first time they have a crowd back since COVID. They're not going to be short in ticket sales. I mean, it was sold out in like the McGregor fight is sold out in like 60 seconds or something like that.
Very fast,
so ticket sales are not a problem right now.
No.
So I don't think they needed Jorge Masvidal on this card, and I don't think he deserves the rematch.
I think from Usman's side thing, he said in an interview the other day, it's kind of like that's always been like a doubt on his record is like the 6 days notice. Everyone was saying, "Oh, you didn't get a full camp Masvidal."
Yeah.
Now he goes off and he beats full camp Masvidal, and then Masvidal he's gone now. He's out of the spotlight. And to be honest, my respect for the man has gone down since the whole Jake Paul thing. I think that was just very silly out of him. I think that kind of made me look at the real Masvidal. I think he's just a bit of a dick, and I can't wait to see him get beaten for 5 rounds.
But this is it. We were looking at like his record, and if I go back to the record here again, the 2 fights he had before Darren Till, he lost to Stephen Thompson, and he lost to Damian Maia. I mean, okay, Damian Maia has gone off the boils since, but Stephen Thompson, that dude, if anybody deserves a title shot or a run at the title or a couple of fights that will get him towards the title, it's Stephen Thompson, and he has the style that will give Kamaru Usman the most amount of problems within that top 5 right now. I think Jorge Masvidal is going to get dominated again, just like he did last time. I think Colby Covington, when they do that rematch, is going to get it's going to be the same fight again. I don't see him improving on that. And then anybody else that you put him in against there in the top 5, it's going to be the same thing. But we don't know what way Stephen Thompson would handle a Kamaru Usman or vice versa. I think that's the fight to make, and anything else is just foregone conclusions.
And hopefully we get it before his retirement.
Yeah, he is talking about exiting now after this fight, not even doing the Colby Covington fight. He said he could walk at any time. Yeah. Do you know, which I think is a shame.
So hopefully we get it, because it'll be a really nice fight.
Yep. So just in terms of the betting odds and stuff like that, we'll stick those up on screen there now. And we both have Kamaru Usman keeping his belt here on this. And do you think it's going to be a stoppage or a decision? Or a submission?
I think it'll be 5 rounds. It'll be unanimous. It won't be a split decision at all. It'll be a one-sided fight, really.
And last question, has Masvidal any hope?
Look, when we went into this in the Ben Askren fight, we were thinking Ben Askren was going to win there and dominate the fight, and he just comes out and hits him a knee. But he could hit Francis Ngannou with that knee, and he would knock out Francis Ngannou. That was just perfect. Like, it hit him perfectly. It was a fluke, but it was the perfect shot. You know, it hit him just in the right spot that it knocked him out. You know, it was just beautiful. He has to come out, and first round has to just dominate. Has to literally come out there and just put him under savage pressure, stop, take down when he still has that energy, when he still has that, when he's not after doing 5 rounds of being on bottom, being ground and pound and being just smashed. If he can get out first round and put damage on him, then he wins. Boy, I don't see that happening. Yep.
Although we did see Gilbert Burns drop Usman in the first round of their fight. So Usman definitely can be dropped. Arguably, Masvidal has more power in his hands than Gilbert Burns. Arguably. but I don't see it happening. I think Kamaru Usman has this all day long.
Yeah, definitely.
So without further ado, let's move on to the co-main event, and we have Weili Zhang versus Rose Namajunas. And
There we go.
as preluded by the Hulk a little bit earlier, I'm going to have a rant here. So I think Weili Zhang versus Rose Namajunas, combined with Valentina Shevchenko versus Jessica Andrade, that right there is your main and co-main event. Nothing else is required. I think that is as good a main and co-main event as we've seen on any card. And I think it is a travesty that they upstage the girls by putting Usman versus Masvidal at the top of this. I don't mind put it on the card, but put it way down the card. Put it underneath the girls' fights. These girls' fights are the main and co-main event for me. And I think it's an absolute... It's done them a disservice, and I think it's a disservice to women's MMA to put the boys ahead of these. Just put them on a different card, or put them down lower than the girls. The girls, this is the girls' night, and rant over. What have you got in terms of stats for me on this one?
I think Rose wins this fight. We had a lovely discussion with Slad on the last podcast, and we got cut.
Of course.
Zhang has come in her last 5 fights and just absolutely just dominate all her fights, and she's gotten better with every fight. And we've seen, like, she's obviously 21 and 1 as a pro.
Yep.
That's a big record. Rose only 9 and 4. So massive experience difference there. I just think Rose, I personally think Rose is going to win. You're in disagreement with it. Obviously, I think Rose obviously needs to take her down and submit her. But then against a bigger fighter, that's a whole different story. But I'm sticking with my pick as Rose.
Yeah, so we talked about this in the episode that we've now deleted. But Weili Zhang, like, so strong, so stocky, so physically strong. We saw her against Jessica Andrade being able to hold Andrade in that Muay Thai clinch and just bury the knees into her. I don't think she's the kind of fighter that you can just easily trip in the clinch or press up against the fence and take her down. And this is the thing. I don't think that she's got like a complete striking style. She has kickboxing, she has Muay Thai, she has boxing, all three at a very, very, very high level. Now, Rose is a stud. I love Rose Namajunas. I think she's a champ, obviously. But I don't think that she can out kickbox Weili Zhang. And in order to win this fight, she's going to have to take her down, take her back, and choke her out. And I can't see her taking Weili Zhang down. So for me, the champ retains her belt here. Yeah. But as I said, I'm a massive Tug Rose fan, and I wouldn't be disappointed at all if either one of these girls came out and I just know this is going to be a fight that the fans win on.
This card is like the two wins fights are just absolute, just great fights to the fan.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. So we're on opposite sides of the thing there. So we'll stick up the stats on that and the betting odds on that, and we'll let the audience decide for themselves. The co-main event, or my co-main event, is the Bullet Valentina Shevchenko defending her flyweight title against the former strawweight champion Jessica Andrade, who made a successful ascent into the flyweight division. And now faces the champ. So, any information on this one for me?
I think we're both in agreement with this one. We think Shevchenko is going to win this. I think it's going to be a very dominant fight. Andrea's a big girl and she has a lot of strength, but she's never gone 5 rounds. I don't think she can hold the power and just like kind of brute force for the 5 rounds. I think Shevchenko can just outlast her and win. Obviously, there's a big, massive height difference as well, as we're talking about. Andrea has also lost to both of your main event, the Liam Óg main event.
Yep.
She's lost to Zhang and Rose. I just think that Shevchenko wins this fight in a very dominant fashion. You were saying by head kick. Mm-hmm. You put the top of my head. Now I'm kind of thinking more of a head kick be nice. Mm. So that's what I'm thinking too. I think the height and definitely her gas tank comes into a big play for this fight.
Yep. And something you mentioned a little bit earlier as well, that's like Andrade is strong, but having said that, Valentina Shevchenko has also fought Amanda Nunes. Yeah. So she's no stranger to a strong girl. The thing is with the height discrepancy here. Andrade is going to have to close the distance, and you can close the distance. That's fine. A little bit of head movement, a little bit of kind of skip step, starter step, whatever. Double jab your way in, whatever. But Valentina Shevchenko, kind of like McGregor, has a mastery of the distancing and distance management. She's got phenomenal kicks. She's got great boxing. I don't see Andrade being able to close the distance. And she too, like Rose Namajunas, only has one path to victory here, I believe, which is to take Shevchenko down and submit her. I don't think she's going to be able to knock her out, and I don't think she's going to be able to close the distance to get her to the ground. I predict the Bullet to retain her title also in this fight.
And if Liam is correct in his odds, and we have both champions remain undefeated, set up a great fight between Shevchenko and Zhang.
Mm-hmm.
They have a bit of drama between themselves, so I think that'd be a great fight. And I know Dana's very kind of excited for both champs to win and set that fight up.
Yep. And you were talking a little bit earlier as well that Zhang is like at the heart of a lot of controversy here. There's heat between herself and Shevchenko, and of course there's heat between herself and Rose Namajunas in this one.
But the Rose comments have kind of have tainted her personality and reputation.
Yeah.
I think Rose, I love Rose and all that, but like those comments are kind of uncalled for. And
so just to kind of remind people, it's the comment. She's basically taking a crack at the communism and yeah. So she said better dead than red.
And then she said something else then about how she needs to fight or something like that. She's been forced to fight or some weird comment like that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So yeah, no, not a good look on Rose to kind of be taking a political stand here. No. She should just stick to the fighting. We're not sure. Do you remember what the drama is with Shevchenko and
I don't actually know. I was listening to Chael Sonnen go on about it, and Chael was kind of saying that he expects the two of them to clash in the bubble, and kind of I think it's very heated. I think it's something to do with social media. I think they just had a bit of a falling out before one of the fights, but there is drama there, and it set up a nice little controversy for a fight.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, so we are in agreement. We're in agreement on that one. So we'll put up the betting odds on that one. And okay, let's move on to the non-main. Well, what I don't know what it is. Look, next fight on the card: Chris Weidman, Uriah Hall. So obviously this is. So go on, give me your stats on this one. I won't steal your moment.
So we're in a disagreement for this one. You think Hall's going to win? I think Weidman's going to win. Weidman has already beaten Hall. He beat him in 2010 on Ring of Combat. Beat him a punch in the first round, so it wasn't kind of like a decision or any of that. Mm-hmm. He knocked him out. Mm-hmm. I just think Weidman. We're talking about how Weidman is kind of on like the chopping board right now. Like he's close. He's had a very sketchy career since he lost title. I just think I think he knows that this is kind of one of the last fights. He needs to put on a good performance. So I think that'll push him to go all for nothing. I think he absolutely just wrestle fucks him and just dominates him, burns him down. Mm-hmm. I think Uriah Hall, I never liked him when he was on the Ultimate Fighter. He was just everything is woe is me, everything is wrong. Look at me, feel sorry for me kind of fighter. Didn't like that. Didn't like his personality. He had an awesome knockout, and then he had a brilliant career in Tough, and then came into UFC and it was kind of a bit of hit or miss. And he always has been hit or miss. It's kind of. He was always complaining about his head hitting. It was the same on the show. He was always complaining about his head. He was saying the mental side of stuff. He was never feeling right and so that. His last fight was against Silva. Wasn't a prime Silva. It was kind of a on the way out Silva. So I don't know. I just think Weidman takes him down, dominates him. But he obviously has to be careful of. In most of their fights, I think every fight is a striker versus a grappler.
On this card?
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. Go on.
Yeah. But again, as most of our fights, Weidman needs to take down Hall and control him. He needs to be careful of the strikes. Hall is a really, really good striker. He has that knockout power and that like, he has those spinning kicks that come out of nowhere and just real flashy kickboxing. I think Weidman takes him down and just suffocates him.
Yep, fair enough. And I agree that is the path to success for Weidman. It's got to be a wrestling heavy performance. He's got to take him down. He's got to ground and pound him, and he's got to make him quit. And he can make him quit. Uriah Hall, as you said, his mental fortitude isn't what he's known for. So if he's put in a bad position and Weidman starts dropping elbows on him, he may look for a way out, you know. Having said that, we mentioned momentum, and I'm just going to bring Weidman's record up on screen here for a second, and let's just go back over a few fights here. So, of course, he is coming off a win against Akhmedov, and that was a unanimous decision win. So his back was against the wall because of the 2 previous losses. But then if you go in his last 6, he's actually lost 4 of his last 6. So his head is firmly on the chopping block.
Yeah, but if you look at those names, that's big names. Like he's lost to Musasi, Yoel Romero, and Luke Rockhold. Then he won against Kevin Gastelum, which was a nice win. And then lose against Souza and Dominic Reyes. Those are big names, like, those are big fights.
Yeah, but he was the former champ. Yeah. So you can't get much bigger than the former champ.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is that in terms of in terms of momentum, I don't think he has it on his side. And then you look at Uriah Hall. Okay, I know he is hit and miss. I know he is that you don't know which Uriah Hall is going to turn up, but he is on a 3-fight win streak. And say what you will about Anderson Silva being on the way out the door, but Anderson Silva has been competitive in every fight he's had over the last few years, despite losing a few. Do you know, I know he's lost to Bisping, I know he's lost to Izzy Adesanya, he's lost to Uriah Hall, but he was competitive in all of those fights. Arguably, he beat Bisping, depending on what way you go about it. He definitely had him knocked out. In the third, at the end of the 4th round, or the end of the 3rd round. Then, you know, I see that, like, that fight as close and all as Anderson Silva was to retirement, that was still a very, very tough fight for Uriah Hall. And he is on a 3-fight win streak, and with that comes confidence. So I think that Uriah Hall has the momentum coming into this fight, and I predict a head kick knockout on this. I just think that he's going to catch Weidman on the way in. I think Weidman is past his best days. 1 foot out the door as well. I don't think he has the drive to actually get over the line with this particular one, but I could be wrong. So we're in a disagreement on this one. And let's move on to the next card. So we have the stats up on screen for Weidman versus Uriah Hall, but let's go to the next fight, which of course is Anthony Smith, former title contender at light heavyweight, versus Jimmy Crute. And you have a bit of a story about Jimmy Crute, so I'm going to let you take it off here.
Yeah, so I lived in Perth, Australia about 5 years ago, and I was just kind of training in the gym, and out in Australia, it's the norm. Same kind of in the US, it's like the norm to turn pro after like 3 or 4 fights. I had a record of nearly 10 fights at a stage, like, so I was an experienced amateur. I was training in the gym, and he was like, "Oh, do you want to fight?" And I was like, when someone asks you, "Do you want to fight?" You go, "Yeah, I'll fight." And he found it impossible to find me a fight, an amateur, just because of the record. And Hex were making a comeback to Perth. MMA in a cage was illegal in Perth, so it was only in a ring. They ended up getting that legalized, so they're having the first ever show. Hex came. Hex is a huge promotion out in Australia. Jimmy Crute was their light heavyweight and heavyweight champion, and he had a pull out in a fight, and they asked me would I step in, and yeah, almost ended up fighting him. I didn't take the fight and didn't get a bad baiting, but yeah, it's a cool enough little story.
So just to add on to that, you did ask me, could you fight? And I said, not on your frickin' Nelly. Because, of course, you were over in Australia to get your head on straight. You had a bit of a losing streak going over there, and you were kind of at the stage where you were kind of trying to figure out whether MMA was what you wanted to do. You were totally in the wrong headspace to fight Jimmy Crute at that stage. Yeah. And that would have been the end of your career. Like, that would have been it. That would have been, you would have been done. But, I mean, this is somebody that we may have to fight in a few years' time.
Oh, definitely.
And, you know, it's a fight that you're certainly more prepared for now than you were back then.
No, definitely, yeah.
But so no, it's a cool enough story. Unfortunately, like we were talking a little bit earlier about Anthony Smith, and I'm just going to pull his record up on screen here as well, just so that we can have a quick look at that. So of course he has that win over Devin Clark, a triangle choke. But before that, we had the loss to Alexander Rakic. I have actually Rakic to be the light heavyweight champ by the end of this year on my January predictions. So still going strong. Glover Teixeira before that. And this is that's the main one, right? Before, like, obviously he lost to John Joe and back along, and he fought against he won against Gustafsson. So and he had that Rashad Evans was a big win for him as well back in the day. But it's the Glover Teixeira fight, right? Glover buried him into the ground with ground and pound to the point where he was picking his own teeth out of his head. Now, I can't remember whether his corner threw in the towel or not, or whether the referee stepped in to stop that fight, but that's the kind of beating that lives with you for the rest of your life.
It's a bad baiting, is what we call it in Cork. A bad baiting.
That is the technical phrase for the Cork assault, yes. I don't think he has mentally recovered from that yet. I don't expect him ever to mentally recover from that. No. And I don't expect him to be able to pull it together mentally to get the win over Jimmy Crute, who is bounding with confidence. Yeah, he's on a streak.
He's 4-1 in his last 5 fights in the UFC, and his loss was to Misha
Serkinov.
That was by Peruvian necktie. Yeah. But then he's beaten some huge names. Beaten Paul Craig. He's beaten Sam Elvery. He's beaten Bukauskas. Bukaku, whatever. He's beaten him, and that was a very dominant performance. Like he slid through his guard like it was a knife going through butter. Like it just was a beautiful fight. I think he is now like a rising star. And give your thoughts on where Anthony Smith is in his career.
Yeah, so unfortunately he's the gatekeeper now. We spoke about this in the failed recording a little bit earlier, but what Andrei Arlovsky is to the heavyweight division, I now believe that Anthony Smith is for the light heavyweight division. So Andrei Arlovsky has become like the person, if you're kind of a rising star, you need to get through Andrei Arlovsky if you want to get into the top 10 or the top 5. And as we've seen in the Andrei Arlovsky's last 4 fights, the only one that has gotten through is Tom Aspinall, and we reckon Tom Aspinall has that kind of star power. I think Anthony Smith is that player now in the light heavyweight division. So can Jimmy Crute get past Anthony Smith and make his way into the top 5, or at least the top 10? This is the big question. Anthony Smith has a lot of experience. I just don't think that his mentality is back from that Glover Teixeira beating.
No.
And we spoke about this a little bit earlier as well. So Jimmy Crute was originally slated to fight your teammate and sparring partner. So tell us about that.
Johnny Walker ended up tearing his pectoral. I think it was maybe 5-6 weeks ago. Had to get surgery and had to unfortunately put out the fight. We were talking about does Johnny Walker have the ability to call him out after the fight? I think he does, just because Johnny Walker is ranked 10 right now. If Jimmy Crute wins his fight, he'll be pushed up to 5-6. I think that jump of 5 to 4 ranks is not a huge one. I think if Johnny Walker was out of top 10, then that makes it a hard call for him.
Yeah.
But I think this makes it a good call for him, and it's a very good fight just because Johnny Walker is a fan favourite. He's always a highlight reel. Joe, it's always something spectacular. He always shows something that you don't expect. He'll hit you with the inside of his shin or something like that, and it'll be spectacular. But definitely sets up a good fight, and we're jumping the gun. But I think he walks through Smith. I think it's. I want to say submission. I'm going to say submission. I have a feeling. I just felt that my left testicle there. I think Jimmy Crute wins by submission.
Well, your left testicle is never wrong, so
no, never
let's
wrong.
leave it at that. And let's go to the last fight that's on.
That's us.
No, that's it. That's it. Okay. Right. It was your left testicle that actually distracted me there for a second. So
it's never wrong.
Okay. So right, we're split on 2 fights. So we're in agreement for Kamaru Usman. We're split on Weili Zhang versus Rose Namajunas. We're in agreement for Valentina Shevchenko retaining her title against Jessica Andrade. We're split. You have Chris Weidman, I have Uriah Hall. And on the first fight of the main card, we both have Jimmy Crute. So, just for betting odds for your bet of the week, if you were to put a tripler or doubler together or something, what would you put together that what you would recommend for a bet of the week?
Nice little 3-fight accumulator would be Jimmy Crute, Rose Namajunas, and Chris Weidman. I think that'd be I think the odds there would be very good, and throw a tenner down there, you get back a bit of money.
Okay, and my bet, I'm going for a twofer. I'm going for a 2-fight prediction here, and it's actually going to be totally out of the box. I'm predicting a head kick knockout from both Uriah Hall and Shevchenko. Don't care what round. I just think that the fights are going to end with head kick knockouts. And if you put even a $5 on that, you'll get millions back in return. I don't even know what the odds are, but they're bound to be amazing.
That's a little disclaimer. You might not win $1 million.
Oh, well, if you're, I mean, for those people who have been watching the ProAm Predictions, if you've been following either Brian or Paul over the last few weeks, you've lost all your money anyway. So you've got nothing left to bet.
This is a clean slate for them to start fresh with us.
Yes, of course. So we can actually get you back into the win column straight away.
And then when the boys come back next week and we're kicked off the show, we go back to losing ways again.
There you go. There you go. So look, we're coming to the end of the show. Do you want to give a shout out to any sponsors or anything like that, or where people are going to find you on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook?
My social media handles are Ryan Spillane MMA for Instagram and Twitter, and Ryan the Hulk Spillane on Facebook. You're giving me the spotlight now, so I'm going to go through all my sponsors. Huge shout out to Bua Health and Fitness. Bua covers all my strength and conditioning and has turned me from, as Paul likes to say every time he sees me, Lou Ferrigno Hulk into Bruce Banner Hulk, or Mark Ruffalo Hulk. So I've changed completely in size and shape and all that in the last year. That's all thanks to Greg and Bua. My nutrition side stuff is covered by Johnny Holland, so he's the fella that tells me I can eat this and not eat that, and he's always fun to deal with. My nutrition, or my performance supplements and all that kind of crack, is covered by Rosh Nutrition and Here's Health. I'm clothed out in the best gear from Alpha Caveman, and I got a decent bike off my character cycles, and they're sponsoring me now, and I still can't ride the bike. And
I am going to put up footage on Ryan trying to ride that bike, of course.
And that's all my sponsors. Oh, and my recovery is covered by Elite Sports Recovery down Toker. They're awesome.
Nice. There we go. So that's it, folks. That's been our show.
Oh, fuck. No, back. Just rewind there. Also, thanks to Mama Mar, because she'd absolutely kill me if I didn't mention her. And Mar, love you. Please don't hurt me.
Okay. Your left testicle went tingling there when you missed that call out. But here we go. Look, that's been our show, guys. Hope you've enjoyed ProAm Predictions. Make sure you go ahead and like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Put the money down if you want to win some money. Make sure that you tune in back next week again when Brian and Paul will be taken back on the mental. And
also give Liam shit because he fucked up the first recording.
Yeah, but we got the second one done in 32 minutes. Nice and succinct. We're out of here. See you later, guys. Yeah, I don't have any. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to stop the recording and post-product in something anyway.